Alrighty, everybody, happy Wednesday. And this is today's project, is grinding some stumps. So I got these couple right here. This was like, what, 1, 2, there's 4 pine trees all kind of grown up right here, and then that big one there. And there's another one right, where is it? Right there. We got to get, and then these little ones right here, and then there's some over there next to the container, and then I think another one right back over there going into that field back there that Kelly wants going. So went over to United Rentals and picked up this little guy again. And you guys have been watching my channel for a while. You guys have seen this thing several times, and I think this is the 3rd time I've rented it. And I'm really enjoyed using this thing. This is a Barreto, and I had never heard of Barreto until I went over to United one day and asked them about renting a stump grinder, and this is what they gave me, and I've really liked it. The thing has really been awesome. If you're not familiar with it, it has a 31 horsepower Briggs & Stratton Vanguard engine on it. And I don't know what kind of hydraulic pump it has on it. I guess it might be a Barreto pump. But the main thing that I do like about this, since with this particular machine, is obviously there's not like a Barreto dealer, I don't think, like really anywhere near here. But this thing having a Briggs & Stratton engine on it, you can pretty much take this to almost any Briggs & Stratton certified small engine repair place, which there's plenty of them around everywhere, and they can pretty much work on this thing. And then, you know, the hydraulic system on it's really just an engine hooked to a hydraulic pump. So you probably take any issues with the hydraulic system, you probably take it to a hydraulic shop and they could deal with it as far as the hoses, the cylinders, the pump, and stuff like that. So, and any parts you need, from what I've been told, Barreto's pretty good about getting parts and stuff out. So so pretty nice little unit, and for a gas engine, it's got a lot of power. I mean, I have ground some pretty decently sized pine stumps with this thing. I did some for my parents up in North Carolina last year with it, and it went through them pretty easily. And I've done a 52-inch stump with this thing. Now, that was the first stump I ever did with this thing. I didn't really know what I was doing back then. Still not an expert with this thing, but definitely a lot better than what I was. But it's done some big stumps for me, and I mean, it'll go through, I think I did about a 20-inch pine stump. The last time I used this thing, it did it in less than, it did it around 15 minutes or so, I think, if I timed it right. So, yeah, this thing's been awesome. So, most of them are pretty much down to ground level except for these. So I gotta take the 550 here real quick and lop these off and get them down as low as I can. And we're gonna start grinding. So thought I'd bring you guys along for the day for this thing and get some cool footage and see what happens. So I'm trying to get this done today. Shouldn't be a problem as long as I don't have any issues with this thing. We're supposed to have that tropical storm / depression thing coming tonight into tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be able to work tomorrow or not with all that rain and stuff. So I'm going to try to get this knocked out today and see what we can do. So let's take care of these stumps. Okay, well, that was a bit of a pain. I been debating buying a Husqvarna 572 lately, but I just don't use a chainsaw very much with what I do, and I just haven't really found quite the need. It's not something I gotta have. The only reason I would really want to have it in case we did have a bad hurricane this season and I needed to do some tree work on some larger trees. And a lot of times we have these big hardwoods here, and what happens with them is their taps, they don't really have tap roots. They just kind of spread out along the bottom in these big root mats, and you know, they have these big bushy canopies like those live oaks and stuff over there, and that's like a sail in the wind basically when the storms come, and the ground gets soft and mushy with all the rain, and the whole thing just tips over. We usually don't see a lot of the pines really like tip over, not the bigger ones. What a lot of times that happens with them is a lot of times they snap off around the middle somewhere. Like they have these big bushy tops, but after you get past the top, it's a pretty solid trunk of wood there. So, and the taps go straight down. Like, I mean, I've pulled taps out of the ground, like stumps, like some of these pines that are 12 feet deep below, you know, the surface of the ground. They go deep. A lot of times they don't like tip over from the stump. A lot of times you'll see them, they're like snapped in half, especially if they get a good burst of wind. You know, they'll just bend and then it'll just pop in the middle somewhere. So I've been kind of debating that, but I just haven't pulled the trigger on it. So that would have been nice, especially for that bigger one. That was about all the 550 could handle right there, trying to get that through there. And I didn't have any wedges with me. I've got some back at the house, and I didn't even think about bringing them, but luckily these are the only two I got to cut. So let's fire this up and get to grinding. Okay, so that went rather well. I think that took, according to the footage on the GoPro, probably like 30-ish minutes to grind those 2 stumps down. So pretty good production with this thing, considering it's a gas engine and it doesn't produce the torque like a diesel would. But it's small, it's light, it's compact. It'll go into real tight areas. You don't need a big trailer to pull it around. I mean, I just pull it around on that little single axle Kaufman right there, and it fits on there perfectly. And I think not exactly sure how much it weighs. I want to say around 1,500 pounds, something like that. It's not super heavy. So happy with it. I think the teeth are dull. They're not cutting like they did the last time I used it. They definitely some of them seem dull. Those seem okay, but yeah, see, that one's kind of worn. But it's getting the job done. Definitely getting the job done. But with these things, because they just don't generate the torque like a diesel would, sharp teeth is paramount on these things. So, all right, let's go over there and get that stump over there and keep moving along. Well, unfortunately, it looks like I lost some footage with this today. This Hero 6 kept cutting off. I guess it was overheating and cutting itself off. So I don't know how much of that it captured. It had plenty of battery. It had like 40% battery when I turned it on, but it's just been so hot. Now I got this storm moving in. But I think that was the last stump I had to grind. So this thing got the job done today. Teeth weren't in the greatest of shape, but it got the job done. And I really like this little unit. And a lot of people have said, you know, maybe get one for the skid steer. And the reason I don't want one for my skid steer is, and MTL makes one, they make a really nice one. But for what I do around here, putting that on the skid steer, it's just big and the tracks tear up the ground. So if you had to go into a backyard with it, you're either going to have to like lay out plywood or you're going to tear up the yard. And it's just big and it's heavy to pull around. It's costly to pull around fuel wise. And then the machine itself burns a lot of fuel with the high flow on running an attachment like that. So you're burning a lot of fuel. This thing is light, it's compact, it'll go anywhere. It's got a ton of power. It runs on gas and it doesn't burn that much. I mean, they filled this thing up at United today. Let's just see how much. I've probably run it for, probably got 2 hours on it, 2.5 hours. I think it's got a gauge on it, but it's got at least half a tank down in there. still left. I think it gets around 4 to 5 hours on a tank, something like that if you're running it at full throttle. I thought it had a gauge on it. I guess it doesn't. But I really like this thing, renting it. It's now if you're going into stump grinding, if I can get that cap back on. Can I do it? Cool. Now if you're going into stump grinding like full time, all day, every day, I don't necessarily know if I would have this unit. You know, I think a diesel unit would be a lot more efficient. But if you're already established as a landscaping company and you're coming across some stump grinding jobs and you're passing them off and you're getting, 2 or 3 a week or something like that, or 4 or 5 a month, this would be a good option. I think this thing, I've seen some used ones online for around 15. I think this thing brand new goes for around 20 to 22. And I actually called the local sales rep about this thing. The only problem with these things right now is, the last I checked, they're like 30 weeks out from getting a new one. When I talked to the guy like 2 months ago, I mean, it's just there's a big demand for them right now. So, and Barreto is not even that, I guess, well known, but apparently they're getting more well known, and probably because of these rentals, and people are just liking them, so they're buying them. So, like I said, if you're doing this all day, every day, and that's what you're like starting a business to go do, I don't necessarily know. It might be a good entry-level machine maybe to get you started, but I would maybe try to find a diesel machine, maybe a used one that's still in good shape. But that's as if you've already got like a good clientele already worked up and you're going to have the work. But if you're just getting started, this is a pretty attractive option price-wise. And you don't need a very big truck to pull it around. I mean, you could pull this thing around with a little, small pickup truck or an SUV with a trailer behind it. Like I said, I just use that little 6-cylinder on a 2-inch ball, or that little single axle trailer with a 2-inch ball. So, and it's, parts should be easily available since it's got a Briggs & Stratton engine in it. It's not some off-brand engine or a proprietary engine to Barreto. So I really like this thing. If you guys got questions, hit me in the comments. But I've enjoyed using it. I'm no expert at stump grinding, though. What I try to do, I found, is just to lower the head to the depth that I want to get it, and then just drive into the stump very slowly and move the head back and forth. And that seems to work pretty good. The only problem with these pine stumps is, like on the hardwoods, like those oaks over there, the stumps don't go very deep. So you can drop that head and you can grind the whole stump top to bottom pretty easily with the depth that this thing will go. The pines, like I said, those taps, like in those big pines, they go several feet deep. So when you're coming across that pine, there's no way for you to grind all the way through it. So you're constantly running the head across the top of the pine. And how you grind stumps is you grind them going into them, not from the top down. If you try to grind a stump with these things top down, it'll just bounce. And you see this thing bouncing doing those pines because as I'm going into them, there's still a whole bunch of stump left down below it. So I'm going across the top of it and it's kind of bouncing, and it makes it even harder when the teeth aren't sharp. So it's just not much you can do about it. You just kind of have to fight through it. But it'll get down, it'll go pretty deep and get them down pretty good below grade and grind a stump, and it'll do it. So like I said, I've done a 52-inch stump with this thing before. It took me a while to do it because I didn't know what I was doing, but it did it and did a good job and got it, way down below grade. You can actually see that video on my channel if you want to check it out. So, well, I'm gonna try to get this thing loaded up before the rain comes, and I don't know if I'm gonna take it back today or come back early in the morning and get it. I know it's supposed to be pouring down rain because Elsa's coming. Why won't Elsa bring us some cold weather? I wish it was just a hurricane of nice, cool weather. It's so damn hot and humid out here right now. Ugh. So, all right. Well, that was cool today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, if you got questions about this thing, hit me in the comments, but I really like it, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. So maybe I'll get one of these things. I've been kind of kicking the tires on it. Maybe I'm busy enough with what I've got right now. I really don't want to diversify at the moment, but if I come across a good deal on one, I might do it. So we shall see. So stay tuned, and I will catch you guys later.